Hi, so that was the second excerpt from Mozart 40 that you heard. This happens a little bit later than the theme. It's kind of this different, I guess the moral of the story in this one is again kind of stroke, is that if I was to ask for this excerpt on an audition, I would be listening for stroke and phrasing within a continuo part, which is what this, well, it's really what this is. It kind of alternates between these two ideas that Mozart has going on the entire time. So the eighth note is always running. There's always an instrument playing the eighth note throughout this section. Then you have this bass movement, this so you have that kind of idea as well, and that's in alternation with the violins. And so that's also because we kind of have to shape these ideas based on what else is happening. When I go to play this excerpt, I think about how a bassoon would play these eighth notes. Actually, for most Mozart symphonies, I think about how a bassoon would play it, because this eighth note, the staccato eighth note, is so, it's so quintessentially a double reed instrument kind of articulation. So I think about what a bassoon would sound like this. And so make sure you're listening for that. If you play this with an orchestra, make sure that you listen for the bassoon and you're trying to shape along with them. So the first thing I do, again, like the excerpt before this, is I break the eighth notes apart, kind of idea by idea. So I do. This is just kind of, the idea is E flat, so just one idea. And then I do this that's the second idea, and then it's this. And I kind of do this finger replacement thing here. And then we have the alternating, the thirds. So this is, and this is how I practice the thirds. I do double stops. So that's how I start practicing it. So, and I find that stroke, I mean, you're literally playing both strings. You can find a stroke that works for both of these notes. So this gives you a chance to kind of also find the hand positions you need for each alternating third. So I'm just, it's kind of the idea. Now, as I play those double stops, I'll play it with a metronome and I'll play it slowly, and I'll just work on finding that relaxation, shoulder back and dropped, and just and let the bow kind of do the work. Now, as I pick up speed and I feel comfortable with this double stop, I'll slowly rotate. So I'll do this, and I'll still play a double stop. Keep doing that until the alternation, these singular notes down and up, kind of feel in this similar motion of a double stop. So, and then just a slight alteration. Some people advocate for the switched bowing because some people find it a little bit easier. But I think I think if you can do the original bowing, the go-to bowing, then I think it's going to ultimately benefit you. If you feel more comfortable in an audition setting, feel free to, I would encourage you to switch the bowing around to whichever way that you need to. But remember that in orchestra, you want to be, this is a continual part. We're playing with the cellos, and they're not going to be doing this up and down, this switched bowing. They'll be doing this. So it's better just to spend your time learning how to do the correct bowing. Correct is a strong word, but the bowing that the cellos would be doing, because we're all playing the same thing. We don't want to sound different. We're supporting the cellos in this, in the bassoon. So that's how I work on that, because this down with the German bows, it's challenging, but if you can find the small rotation as you play double stops, you can, and it's not so bad, but you have to stay relaxed, because the moment you become not relaxed, it starts getting, it can't be down, up, down, up, down. It has to be down with the natural inclination of the bow has to be a rebound. Anyway, so that's how I kind of achieve that third stroke with the string crossing. Anyway, moving on to this other idea, this bass motion, coming out of the alternating thirds at the end of this system. Remember to relax into the stroke. We don't want to just crush this this temporary tonic. So, and I go up here to C on the D string because I find it a little bit easier to do this bass motion. It feels like there's a lot of resonance in that way. I mean, you can do, but that shift, 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 and I would rather just like that. Real simple. So that's okay. So the shape of this section is pick up downbeat, and then they're all kind of rebounds from the downbeat. So see what I mean? So if you don't have the low E flat, I would recommend just playing it up an octave. So just not the whole thing up the octave. We don't want to, the cellos will be playing that for us, so it's not really important necessarily if you don't have the C extension to play the entire thing up the octave. The bass movement is important, so. We continue on with that, and then it's the same idea again, that I'm just going to practice this doing, and I'm comfortable up here, the bass. Your bass might not like going this high on the A string, that's fine if you want to play, or you can do. So you can find a simplified version of this. choose to actually go up on the A string for this G, because this A and D string all the way until the end is going to be kind of a similar stroke. So you see, so this is the slack of these strings. I would rather keep that consistent all the way down rather than taking an easier with more string crossings. So that's kind of the idea. And then for this, the final note, I think it's important. If you want a really great sforzando, you don't want to crush it with weight. You want to bring the note alive with bow speed. So when you come out of these alternating thirds, you be relaxed enough to turn your body. My teacher, Paul Ellison, would tell me that to play, if you can throw a frisbee, you can play bass. And he was trying to make this this parallel between the motion that comes from the biggest joint to the smallest joint as you throw a frisbee, right? You don't throw a frisbee with your wrist. You don't throw a frisbee whipping your body around, but you go from the shoulder, you plant your foot, right? And then you go and you throw it like this. And so the biggest muscles support the smallest muscles. And so when you get out of this alternating third, remember to prep your body and turn. So now create this nice big sound. And a sforzando, very much a Mozart sforzando, and not an accent, you know. So anyway, so that's kind of the idea for this second excerpt. I think what's most important as you prepare this one, and the same goes for the first excerpt, is that both of these require a tremendous amount of metronome work and a tremendous amount of intonation work as well. This project, Mozart Symphony, is a project that will never be complete. You can always come up with these new ideas for them, and I find myself, every time that I come back to these excerpts, I find myself with a different idea about how to play them. And you're gonna make mistakes, and some things that you're really into one week, you won't really like the next week. And I think it's important to really think critically every time you come down to them. Never just play them straight. Because, I mean, quite frankly, this is some of the best music that, personally, I feel is some of the best music that we as bass players get to play. And there's a lot to be worked on, there's a lot going on, and I think that a true testament of that is the fact that it gets called almost every audition you'll ever take. There's some kind of Mozart excerpt, and that's because it's just so classy and it demands so much. And find the joy in this small detailed work, and you'll have a much better time practicing, believe me. I'm going to attempt to play this a final time for you, and hopefully I'll convey some of the stuff that I was talking about. Good luck.